Welcome back, everyone. Now that we've had a chance to learn about Keynesian equilibrium, today we're going to take a look at the Keynesian multipliers. So let's start with the simple Keynesian multiplier. The basic idea behind a Keynesian multiplier is that now that we understand how the income expenditure model works, we can begin to intuit that when there is a change in the system because of the fact that in the circular flow, my expenditure becomes your income, you will then spend some of it, it will become your expenditure, it will become someone else's income. They in turn will take a portion of that and spend some of it, which will become a fourth party's income, and so on. That this circulation, this repeated circular flow, means that initial changes will ripple through the system and will have a final impact on the equilibrium, which is larger than some multiple of the original change. And this ripple effect could be a virtuous cycle. If I've got an initial increase, it's going to spread through the system so that aggregate expenditures go up over time, income therefore goes up, and I get a larger volume of production, a higher equilibrium level of income. Conversely, it could be a depressive cycle, it could be a recessionary cycle where there's an initial smaller change and that ripples through the system so that initial problem here spread, and I get a final drop in my income, which indicates a much larger problem than the initial change. So can I figure out how that final impact is going to be of a small initial change? And the answer is yes, I can. I can use the multiplier. So to give you a sense of how we think of the multiplier, let's go ahead and use the example we've been using so far. My marginal propensity to consume is 0.7. I started with C equal to 1000 plus 0.7y. My planned investment was equal to 2000. My equilibrium level of income based on that was 10,000. And when I graphed it, there's my 45-degree line, there's my C, to which I added my planned investment, which gave me my AE, and there was my equilibrium level of income. Now, something happened. Let us say either because there were worries about COVID and a bunch of firms thought, I'm really not sure we're out of all these surges. Maybe we shouldn't be investing that much. Maybe something happened in money markets. Interest rates went up. And we know that planned investment depends on interest rates. And firms were like, it's a bit too expensive. Interest rates have gone up. Maybe we should invest a bit less. So there could be all kinds of reasons. There could be a change in expectations for the future. There could be changes in government policy in money markets. There could be shifts in interest rates. There could be changes, exogenous shocks like illness. COVID could be considered an exogenous shock. So all kinds of reasons. Maybe something happened. And let us say my consumption function is still the same. But my planned investment dropped by 300, which means my new IP is going to be 2000 minus 300 is 1700. So the question is, what's going to happen to my equilibrium level of income? And the answer is, I can figure that out by thinking of the cycle. The initial thing that's going to happen is going to be that the first impact, so how is YE going to change? Is going to be that there's going to be a drop of 300. So equilibrium level of income will initially, expenditure drop by 300. When expenditure dropped by 300, someone's income dropped by 300. That became 9,700. Right? But here's the key. If I ended up spending 300 less, somebody else's income went down by 300, which means that my income went down, their income went down by 300, and when their income goes down by 300, they cut back on consumption. How much? I know how much. 0.7 of that. So somebody else, their income went down by 300, they cut down by 0.7 of 300, which is 210. They in turn spent 210 less. Next person down the line, their income went down by 210. They're going to spend 0.7 less of that. And so on and so forth. So down the line, 0.7, 0.7, 0.7, 0.7. And if you look at this, this is a series. And you can, those of you who are interested in sequences and series, you can look at the sum of this series, or you can solve this algebraically if you want. But the end result is going to be, the net change in equilibrium is going to be, and here's my formula, 1 over 1 minus MPC. This over here, 1 over 1 minus MPC, is your multiplier. Multiplied by the initial change that triggered it all, which in this case is minus 300. So if I use this formula, I'm going to find that my total change is going to be equal to 300 times 1 over 1 minus MPC, which is 300 divided by 0.3, which is 1,000. And so my new YE is going to be the old YE, 10,000 minus 1,000, which is 9,000. So an initial change or drop in planned investment of 300 caused 1,000 change in equilibrium. And you can show that in this graph. So here it is. I went from C and I added 2,000 to get AE, but that dropped by 300. So here I'm going to give you a nice dashed line that's the new AE. Right? If that's the new aggregate expenditure, what I'm tracking is a process that looks like this. This went down, income went down. This went down, income went down, and so on. And the process finally stops here at the new equilibrium level of incomes and expenditures, which would be 9,000. So what the Keynesian multiplier is showing you is that when this goes down by a certain amount, aggregate expenditures drop by a certain amount, then the new equilibrium, the place where the 45-degree line will hit that expenditure line, is going to be some multiple of that drop. In this case, it's going to bring you there. So this is the concept of the Keynesian multiplier, and we're going to use this concept as a way to think through government policy. What can the government do when we face these kinds of situations? Thank you.